Lordy, lordy! I've got all these UFO zines to look at. Let's do it together. Hey everyone, it's Tom. It's FANzine Live. We are doing the UFO review, and this is the United Fanzine Organization, a group to which I belong. It is a co-op, which means that by my sending copies of my UFO zines that carry the UFO logo, that carry the UFO checklist in them, I send them out to all the members. They send me their copies of zines as well. So I have all of this that I need to be going through, because another aspect of this is we do reviews of each other's work, UFO zines, in the UFO newsletter called Tetragrammaton Fragments. And so I figure doing FANzine Live, I can share my reviews with you, but then I can also link to them and put links to them in the Tetragrammaton Fragments column that I have to write. And I've got to write it pretty quickly. Let's get started. We're going to start with the work of Alan Sissom. Alan is a returned member, and he sent 2 zines along. I don't think these are actually official UFO zines. I don't see any logo. I don't see any checklist. But Alan is back, and so we'll just talk about this very briefly. Hmph, number 4. And this one is about the fun of going online and finding a spouse, or at least a loved one. And there's a bit of a joke in the end. Rather cute. It says, it's been a while since his last publication has appeared, and for a while I was actually considering stop creating comics altogether. Of course, he got back into it. This was as of June. Darn glad to have him back. This is actually, I found this to be the more interesting of the 2. No offense, Alan, you got to like one over the other. And the ORP is a character that he created back in the 1970s and has decided to pull it out and mess around with it. I like this. This is an alien, and the alien has discovered that this planet that we live on here, called Earth, is a rest stop on the Galactic Highway. And so the ORP's job is to kind of scope it out and see what this whole Earth thing is about. I like the cartooning. I like the 4-panel page on this format, this mini comic format, quarter page for both of these. And then he splits it up really nicely. So, you can do your 2 together to make one large at the top. But basically, he's got 4 quadrants on every page. Does a very nice job hand drawing everything. As best I know, he does all this manually. None of it, well, that looks to be done typeset, but even his normal lettering is not. Everything else is done by hand, including his lettering. But, I mean, nice panel construction, nice layouts, very cool stuff. So, of course, our little friend the ORP goes running around, and he finds a guy called Toilet Paper Man, and so kind of stumbles across that little adventure of Toilet Paper Man, decides that's a little odd. But then he finds this one guy at the end who appears very average. And so that might be something that would be worth looking at, which leads into the second issue. A very average person. So how is the ORP going to interrelate with that guy? You can see it. He writes here, as can be seen in these sketches from the summer of '96, I've tried out various designs over the years of the ORP before deciding on the original look from when I first created the character. Kind of cool. And then, funny thing about Toilet Paper Man. Nice color cover on the outside, black and white on the inside. Paper is very nice. Copying is very nice. Good looking stuff. Great to have Alan back in the UFO. A new member, Matt or Doc Hoffman, or Doc Hoff from his Doc Hoff comics, has 2 books printed by Amazon. I'm used to seeing this format. For example, I will pull out a copy of Hologram. Same style, paperback, same style with the crease there, glue binding, very nice stuff. I'll put mine aside and look at his. Buck Nelson, a nice glossy cover here, and his Galactic Adventures to Save Planet Earth. Now, Doc Hoff, as opposed to me, I used kind of a matte interior on mine. He uses the full gloss interior on the inside. This is a really interesting story. I think this is a true story, that there was this guy named Buck Nelson who, before man went to the moon, this Buck Nelson put it over on the world, though he, of course, was absolutely convinced that it happened, that he had visits from aliens. Then he went on the speaking circuit and started telling people about his interactions with the aliens. It's really cute. Notice Hoff does all sorts of things with his style. Does some typeset stuff when he's taking pieces out of Buck Nelson's book. Uses full black backgrounds, wide angle shots. That's a nice looking picture of the moon. Very well done. So it's a fun piece. And then there's a piece at the end about this Buck Nelson guy who apparently was doing the convention circuit and speaking about his time with aliens. And then, of course, we went to the moon and all that got screwed up. So, yeah, that's it. Hoff is a member of the Sequential Artists Workshop. And so he has got a nice little thank you there and an ad, but also has a piece about the UFO for our checklist as well. Nice looking book. And then he also had an adaptation of The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. And I love the cartooning style for this. And what gets me is he's got blue ink only for this guy's eye. Until we get to the back where you have the yellow for the Doc Hoff Comics stuff. And then, of course, the color for the checklist. So he had this whole thing printed in color, but he did most of it in black and white. Neat story. I mean, this is The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, done with his own adaptation. Again, creative artwork. I mean, look at the scratchiness there and the work there. Really gives a nice feeling of fear and dread. The thump, thump, thump of the heart. I love it. Going to the end, look at that. Talk about the craziness of The Telltale Heart. Then at the end, he says, this is the end of Poe's text. See the next page for Doc Hoff's alternate ending. And it's right there, which I'm not going to show you because you need to go get it yourself. Very nice piece. Good stuff from Doc Hoff. Joe Ely Carrales continues the Improbable Girl and Wonder Kitty saga with Journey to the Master of the World Part 2, but this is number 14 of the larger Improbable Girl and Wonder Kitty series. Nice forward, very nice recap. Glad to have that because it's been a while since I've read this. And we have the story of the Journey to the Master of the World. Nice artwork. Joe is improving as an artist. He's using a lot of his same materials and his same style of having the black backgrounds and then putting his panels on top of that. Clearly takes some pride in his recreations of military gear and military uniforms. We've got a number of things going on here. We've got characters who we haven't really seen a ton of before this arc, who then basically carry the front half of the book. And then we finally get the Improbable Girl, Mary, and Nico, the Wonder Kitty character. They get to come in the back part. And of course, we then have the cliffhanger ending. Then we've got our UFO checklist, always appreciated. Hey, look, fanzine and hologram. And then we've got the back matter, which Joe does, called the New People's Journal. little bit of talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in the world of John Simpson and the Megaton Man Multi-Mentions Kickstarter program. An interview with a gentleman named Mark Wyrostick. Mark actually did a little strip here, a 2-pager. And then we've got Chief Coffee Cup by Brian Amstetter. Some real simple cartooning, but cute. Then a nice tribute to Larned Justin, the late Larned Justin, who was the host of Talking Small Press Comics. So there you go. David Oliver King presents the Triumvirate, and this is a true book, even though it is volume 6. This is a paperback, and as a zine, it challenges assumptions on what zines can and should be. This is strictly a text zine. You can see we're talking about fantasy, science, fiction, and horror. Fantasy, science fiction, and horror. I am not a big high fantasy fan, nor am I a horror fan. I am a bit of a science fiction fan, though. The book itself is beautiful. Text setting is great. I gather that you can drop all your text onto the Amazon website and it'll do the layout for you. So I figured rather than talk about the material that didn't really appeal to me, I'll try this End of a Lineage, which is the science fiction contribution by Joshua Weiss. It had a really interesting idea about how the desire to kill off mosquitoes with pesticides ended up killing off the vast majority of humanity. And this is written as a historian, a scientific historian from their perspective, and it's kind of an alternate history thing. I enjoyed reading this one because it was written from kind of like a clinical perspective, just kind of a, here's what happened, and this is what happened next, and this was what happened next. So a lot of the drama's taken out of it, but it also is very well thought out and very well designed to explain what happened. And it gets to the point at the end where they discover that the mosquitoes who had the insecticide, if they bit a person on the face, before dying, the material would go in through their head into their cerebral cortex and screw them up, and people would just be almost forced to commit suicide. So they discovered that the way to fix that is to remove one of the hemispheres of the brain. And so in this alternate universe, the best thing one can do is, after having a child, is remove half their brain and have them learn how to operate strictly from a single brain. But you can see a lot of deaths in that one. So it was interesting. And then lastly, at the end, David does do an editorial, and he does his piece from his last Tetragrammaton Fragments. Nice picture, by the way. That looks almost like a Wall Street Journal style image where you've got the pointillism, and then he's got a call for submission. So if you're interested in getting involved, Dave would love to have you. And that is the Triumvirate. Galactic Diary 3 by Verl, Holt, Bond. They're in the trees, everyone, and you can see we've got some problems because folks are up in the trees, and this guy is not having a good day. Past issues of Galactic Diary have been entire issues devoted to a single topic, a single story, at least as best as I can remember. This one is an anthology in the true sense of the word. We've got material from 2022, and it looks like there's a bit of a horror twist to this one. Verl does all of his own work. He does all of his own lettering, all of his own pencils, inks, layouts, everything. And as a hobbyist, he does a pretty good job. Then we have Post-Holocaust Blues. Now this is part 0, so he's doing a prelude type piece. Shares some of the story of Mada and Saduj, apparently in this post-apocalyptic world, almost in like a Commandy type of world. They have their discoveries, and they discover this young lady, and the two boys think that they can compete for her attention, but she picks the other guy, and so our friend Mada decides enough is enough, and he leaves. So then we skip from story 0 to story 5, and now Mada is hooked up with another group. It's some decent artwork here. I especially like the boat design. Did a very nice job on that. And then we've got an almost EC horror type piece. The heart wants what the heart wants. Neanderthal Sunset. This might be the best looking piece in my opinion. Some really nice looking sci-fi type work. But the rest of the The inking is really good too. Plays well with shadows. Does a decent job with the foliage there. I went home with my army buddy Max. This is Chance Meeting. A couple different weekends in 1971. Went to a party looking for chicks. So it's a bit of a party piece. And a few minutes later, lead on, soldier. So he got what he was looking for. World Without Love. Nice layout on that page. I really like that. Bit of an erotic thriller. A lot of action in this particular piece. Nice to see experimentation with different genres and different styles. Does some neat things there with using the grid at an angle. Gives a very different view. And then he's got background on the stories. A few pinups, and we're on our way. If you like Captain America, you need to get Cap Fan. Second issue has come out. This is by Rob Imes. Looks like it's $3.50. This is an in-depth look at the Captain America character. Rob does a very nice job with this. It is a heavy text piece, but you've got people doing reviews with their favorite stories about Captain America. This one talking about his life with Captain America. Discussion of Mark Grunwald and Ed Brubaker, the two longest running writers on Captain America, doing a comparison contrast between the two very long runs, like 8 and 10 years or something like that. Team America, kind of a Captain America spin-off team, if I understand correctly. That's one I didn't read back in the day, but he has some background on Team America. And then he has some Team America fan fiction that he did way back when. And then some Captain America related or other just very cool related coming attractions and some mail. If you're into Captain America, I mean really into Captain America, this is definitely for you. Otherwise, it's a nice piece for those who are interested in the history of comics and just a couple of perspectives on them. It didn't grab me a ton because Cap's not totally my thing anymore, but I can appreciate what Rob has done here. It's a very good zine. Very easy to read. There's a ton of text to it, but it's good prose. Cap Fan, number 2. Jenny Dunnigan Paladin by John Yo Jr. I have to be careful with this one because it has more adult covers on it. Now, the internal themes aren't quite as adult as the covers, but it's the type of stuff where I would guess that some comic shops would have a hard time showing it off. I'm not super offended, but I don't want to offend anybody, and I'm out on YouTube, so I've got to just cover it up. Long story short, and I like that he did put a story so far. This is the 3rd issue. The other 2 are here. This is the UFO issue. The story so far, again, thank you, John, for putting this in here, is that we have this character, Jenny Dunnigan, who overdosed on drugs during the 1st issue, and at her moment of death was offered the chance to become a paladin and basically a bit of a demon fighter, if you will. And a demon caretaker. And so now she took that up rather than die. And so now we've got the discussion of everybody who's after Jenny Dunnigan. The boyfriend who tried to kill her is after her. There's this Atticus Winter, an immortal and cruel warlock. He wants the demon that she is the caretaker of. And then you've got family members, and then you've got the demon herself. Then you've got this gentleman who helps explain who cousin Declan, Atticus Winter's cousin Declan, is the one who invited Jenny Dunnigan to become the paladin. And to be the paladin, you are doomed to eternal hellfire and torment as long as you have these tattoos on your back. And these tattoos are kind of a to-do list because they represent all of the different sins you've done in your life, and you have to do good works to atone for each of the sins. And so I think, if I'm understanding correctly, the tattoos will shrink or go away as she overcomes them. And then eventually she would be freed. Boyfriend starts coming after her. Nice fan comic art. I particularly like this. Kind of had a classical art type feel to it. But we've got a lot of characters going on. We've got a lot of character development going on. There's our demon, and they're not having a good time with each other. A decent comic. Not necessarily one I would have bought. Again, I don't do a lot of the horror and mysticism type stuff, but as it is, it's pretty good. The lettering is all done heavily typeset. I mean, that's electronic lettering. Relatively easy to read, though it does have a certain artificial quality that I'm not sure I would have enjoyed as much. And then I like this at the end. This is an activity page where, using the code system that John has set up, he has come up with the many, many sins that Jenny has committed. And you can try to figure out what they are, such as one of them is stole candy from a baby. I love it. And this is Screaming Monkey Comics in Munster, Indiana, which is John's store that he owns. So there you go. That's the UFO Roundup. We have gone through a lot of zines. Thank you for watching, everybody. This has been FANzine Live. Leave a comment. What do you think? Does any of this seem attractive to you? I'll try to put some form of ordering information in the show notes so that you can hopefully pick some of these up if any of these are of interest. Leave a comment. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to FANzine Live. And, of course, tell your friends, because the more people who watch FANzine Live, the more people learn about things like the United Fanzine Organization and its impressive roster of zines and comics. Thanks again, everybody. This has been Tom. I will catch you next time.